Every show has a character everyone hates, but Money Heist did something more interesting than just giving you a character to hate. It gave you a character who started bad and then got worse. Every single season, consistently, deliberately, without a single moment of genuine growth or self-reflection across 5 seasons of television. And the most disturbing part, Arturo Roman is not a fictional exaggeration. He is the most realistic character in the entire show. Today, we find out why. Money Heist is full of morally complicated characters. Berlin crossed lines, but had a philosophy. Tokyo destroyed things, but felt the weight of it. The professor manipulated people, but genuinely loved them. Even Gandia, pure brutal violence, was at least honest about what he was. Arturo Roman was none of those things. Arturo was something more specific and more uncomfortable. He was the man who always needed to be the hero of a story he kept making worse, who used every crisis not to help the people around him, but to position himself as the most important person in the room, who got progressively more dangerous, not because he became stronger or smarter or braver, but because every season gave him a new audience to perform for. And performance for a man like Arturo was always more important than consequence. This is the psychology of why Arturo Roman got worse every single season. Why you probably know someone exactly like him in real life. Before we talk about what the heist revealed about Arturo, we need to understand what he already was before it began. Arturo Roman was the director of the Royal Mint of Spain, a position of genuine authority and responsibility, a man with a wife, a career, a public reputation as a serious professional. And underneath all of that, he was having an affair with his secretary Monica Gastambide. Not a complicated, emotional affair, born of a broken marriage. A cold, opportunistic affair with a woman who worked for him, who admired him, and who he was, therefore, in a direct position of power over. When Monica told him she was pregnant, Arturo's response was fury. He blamed her, took no responsibility for the affair, tried to pressure her into dealing with it on his terms. That response before a single hostage was taken, before a single gun was drawn, tells you exactly who Arturo Roman was. He was a man who had spent his entire adult life constructing a public image of respectability and privately living in complete contradiction to it. A man who took what he wanted from people in weaker positions and then performed outrage when the consequences arrived. The heist did not create Arturo Roman. It simply removed the environment that had been hiding him. The Royal Mint heist gave Arturo his first real test, and he failed it in the most specifically Arturo way possible. He immediately appointed himself the leader of the hostages, not because anyone asked him, not because he had a plan, but because being in a room full of frightened people felt to Arturo like an opportunity, an audience that needed someone to tell them what to do. And Arturo had spent his whole career being the person who told people what to do. The problem was that every plan Arturo came up with put other people in danger while keeping himself as safe as possible. He convinced hostages to take risks he was not willing to take himself. He positioned himself as the architect of resistance from the back of the room. And then the moment Denver pointed a gun at him, Arturo immediately revealed the escape plan and sold out every hostage who had trusted him with their safety. That moment is the clearest possible picture of who Arturo Roman was under pressure. Not a leader, not a hero, a man who performed leadership until leadership became personally costly, and then instantly became a coward the moment his own safety was threatened. He did not just fail the hostages, he endangered them, actively, by using their willingness to follow him as fuel for plans that served his ego, and then abandoning them the moment those plans became dangerous for him personally. Season 1 Arturo was cowardly and selfish, but he was at least somewhat contained by genuine fear. Season 2 removed that containment entirely. What Arturo did after the Royal Mint heist is the moment that defines his psychology most completely. He became a public speaker. He toured. He gave talks. He published a book. He built an entire public persona around his experience as a hostage, positioning himself as a brave survivor who had stood up to dangerous criminals and emerged stronger. Every word of it was a performance built on lies. The man who had sold out his fellow hostages to save himself was now selling tickets to hear himself talk about courage. The man who had used Monica, gotten her pregnant, blamed her, pressured her, was now presenting himself as a voice of moral authority. And people believed him. Because Arturo Roman understood something important about public performance, that most people judge you on what you say about yourself, rather than what you actually did. That a confident enough presentation of a heroic narrative will be accepted by most audiences who were not there to see the reality. He did not grow after the first heist, he weaponized it. And then when the Bank of Spain heist began, Arturo made the decision that revealed just how far gone he actually was. He went back in on purpose, not as a hostage by choice. He deliberately positioned himself to become a hostage again, because the first heist had given him fame and status and an audience, and he wanted more. A man who had survived genuine danger chose to walk back into it, not for anyone else, for the attention. The Bank of Spain heist is where Arturo Roman stopped being a character you could dismiss as merely annoying and became something genuinely disturbing. Because inside the Bank of Spain, with a new group of hostages who did not know his history, Arturo found exactly what he had been looking for: a fresh audience. He immediately positioned himself as the leader, again, the brave one, the man with a plan. He gave speeches. He rallied people. He performed courage with the same practiced confidence he had been performing on the public speaking circuit. And then he did something that no amount of psychological analysis can reframe or soften. He drugged a hostage named Amanda, and he assaulted her. He took advantage of her trust, admiration, and anxiety by drugging and raping her. This is not a character flaw. This is not complexity. This is not the gray area that Money Heist trades in with most of its characters. This was a man who looked at a terrified woman in a hostage situation, already at her most vulnerable, already stripped of safety and security, and decided that her vulnerability was an opportunity for him. Arturo was no longer just a petty and selfish individual. He was now also a rapist who drugged and sexually assaulted other hostages. And here is the psychological truth that makes this the logical conclusion of everything Arturo had been across 4 seasons. He had always treated people around him as resources. Monica was a resource until she became inconvenient. The hostages in the Mint were resources until they became dangerous to him. His public audiences were resources fuel for his performance of heroism. Amanda was simply the next resource. The only thing that changed between Season 1 Arturo and Season 4 Arturo was the scale of what he felt entitled to take. Now we understand the full picture. Arturo Roman did not get worse because the writers needed a villain. He got worse because the show was depicting something psychologically accurate about a very specific type of person, the type who never faces genuine consequence. Think about Arturo's journey across 5 seasons through the lens of consequence. He had an affair and faced no real consequence. Monica stayed in his orbit. His marriage continued. His career continued. He sold out the hostages and faced no real consequence. He walked out of the Mint, a free man. Nobody on the outside knew what he had done inside. He built a public persona on lies and faced no real consequence. People bought the book. People paid for the speeches. The performance worked. He went back into the Bank of Spain voluntarily and faced no real consequence. He was still seen as a victim, still performing the hero. And then with every previous consequence avoided, he committed the worst act of his entire arc. This is the psychological reality of what happens to a person who moves through life without ever being genuinely held accountable. They do not stay the same. They escalate. Arturo Roman got worse every season because nothing in his life ever made him stop. Not fear, not guilt, not love, not consequence. And a man who cannot be stopped by any of those things is the most dangerous kind of ordinary person that exists. Not because he is powerful, because he is everywhere. The reason Arturo Roman is the most hated character in Money Heist is not because he is the most evil. Berlin ordered executions. Gandia committed brutal violence. Tamayo destroyed innocent lives to protect himself. But Arturo is the most hated because he is the most recognizable. The man who always has an excuse, who always positions himself as the victim, who performs heroism loudly in public and causes damage quietly in private, who gets worse, not because something broke him, but because nothing ever stopped him. Money Heist gave us criminals we could understand, and a system we could criticize, and a love story we could root for. And then it gave us Arturo Roman to remind us that the most dangerous people in the world are not always the ones holding guns. If this changed how you see Arturo, or if you think he deserved even worse than what he got, drop it in the comments below. Next video we go inside the father and son story nobody in Money Heist ever talks about deeply enough: Moscow and Denver. Next video, see you there.